RLPA.sports. I cannot believe we're already at the end of the rugby league season. Only 3 more games to go, and then we got the grand final next week. I'm so keen for it. Before we get started, make sure you do like and subscribe as well. All the support goes a long way, especially on YouTube. Make sure you give the socials a follow as well. Link all of that in the bio. And let me know who you think is going to be winning this week. Jumping straight into things, we got the player of the week. For me, it was Braden Trindle. I think a lot of people would have had him. He had an absolute day out against the Cowboys and the punishment that they put on them to knock them out of the finals. Can he lead them to get a W against the Penrith Panthers? It's going to be a steep task. Anything is possible, especially if he goes the way that he did last week. He put on an absolute masterclass. His running game absolutely tore them apart. Cutout balls, short, long kicks were just elite. Scoring tries like he was a winger. He really took the pressure off Nico. He had 2 tries, 1 line break, 1 try assist. Kicked something like 635 metres and had 4 forced dropouts as well. So that was massive by Tricky Trindle. So a quick little recap of the finals week 2. So I went 1 for 2 on that one. Cowboys, they let me down big time. Did forget to actually put my tips on the actual NRL app. So I did on paper get 2 for 2 there because it automatically selected the Sharks for me. So, whoops. Sharks, they gave the Cowboys a bit of a touch up to eliminate them, winning 26-18. And the Sharks, they just came out hot, and the Cowboys, they just didn't really show up in the first half. I think they just got caught off guard. The game was almost over, I think, within the first half. Trindle again, he had an absolute worldie of a performance. He was a part of absolutely everything all over the pitch. He was pretty much playing like he was the halfback. For the Cowboys, I think Cotter, Val Holmes and Dearden, they tried everything. They really left everything out there, really tried to turn the tides, but just wasn't able to get it done, to the point that Val Holmes was running around, I think, with like a fractured leg or whatever he's got at the moment. So, yeah, pretty dismal when it came to the crowd. No good when they had the comparisons into the AFL next door that was absolutely sold out, and then you got all of 13,000 people at this game. Not super great. Cowboys, you're only going to get a certain amount of people travelling down from far north Queensland. The Cowboys couldn't even get a flight, so you can imagine your average Joe trying to get down there. Sharks, though, bit disappointing from them. Hopefully they'll have a little bit more of a showing in Melbourne, but I guess most of that's going to be Storm fans. I can't imagine them, going all the way down there to watch a game. So Roosters, they gave Manly an absolute thumping, 40-16. Just from the get-go, it was a brutal game. Jared Weir-Hargraves knocking out Kohler. He was out. There was no chance of him coming back on. And then straight after that, Jakey Trbojevic going down as well. I'm surprised he even managed to get back out on the field. He looked gone for all money, but yeah, it started out pretty brutal, and the Roosters did not let up after that. They just killed them in the middle with the intensity. It really shows having a guy like Jared back into that squad as well. I think Sandon Smith, he proved a lot of doubters wrong. He, from what I saw, really turned up in that game, showed what he's about, that he can play to that level, scored a try. I thought he did pretty well. And then, of course, you got Teddy at the back, who really led the charge. He had an absolute banger of a game. He went so hard. What did he score? 2 tries. Again, part of everything. One of the most impossible to tackle players. He was just smashing it. A real career revival, I think, he's had this season. So many people put a line through him. Dropped out of the New South Wales team. May not even make it into the Australian squad that he's been such a mainstay in for years. And he's really turned it up. People, including myself, want Jerome Hughes to go through him with the Dally M, but it wouldn't surprised me if Teddy managed to sneak it. A lot of people last year thought Shawnee Johnson had it, wrapped up, no worries at all, and then Kalyn Ponga came through to win that. I personally, like I said, want to see Jerome Hughes succeed, but yeah, we'll see. So next thing I wanted to talk about was the RLPA Team of the Year. The other day, I was just starting to add my notes down on who I think my Team of the Year would be, and when they published that the other day, I only had one player different. So if we go through that team real quick, so we got Edwards at the back at fullback. Your wingers, you got Zach Lomax, Brian Porter. You got Stephen Crichton, Herbie Farnworth in the centres, Jerome Luai and Jerome Hughes in your halves, Angus Crichton and Alisi Katoa in the back row. Your lock is Isaiah Yeo. The front rowers, this is where it changed for me. So they had Mitchie Barnett. I had Reuben Cotter. I think he's had an outstanding season. I think he's really put his best foot forward. But I'm looking back on it as well. Mitchie Barnett had an outstanding season. He had a real breakout. I think really stepped up and showed what he's about. And then on top of that as well, so Pairing with him from the Warriors, we had Adam Fanua-Blake and then Harry Grant. So that is the team of the year. I think that's an outstanding team. Like I said, I only had one of them different. So, yeah, I think we're onto something there. Reece Walsh, he is set to be the highest paid Broncos player ever. Not official yet, but he is looking to sign a new deal, which will have him cashed up and paid roughly about $1 million a year. Walshy, he could be taking a massive pay cut, which is huge for the Broncos. No doubt he could be the highest paid player in the entire game if he went anywhere else. He is just a massive star. The fan base that he has brought to this game, people come just to watch him. He is the biggest thing that we've got at the moment. Yeah, sure, you've got your Kalyn Pongas and guys like that, but I don't think it comes close to Reece Walsh. He is just going to be huge, and it really allows the Broncos to throw a bit more money around as well, try to sign some other players. They need to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Sam Walker. That is who I think we really need to be going for to fill that half spot after Reno leaves. Give him the entire Forex Brewery if I care. Just get Sam Walker into that team. So, yeah, massive by Walshy. I know a lot of that team has taken pay cuts, to allow those signings. I think we are still going to lose some of our key players, potentially Stags or Cobbo. Be cooked if we lost them both. I don't think that's going to happen. But, yeah, obviously there's only going to be a certain amount in the salary cap to get these players. But, Walshy could be getting paid way more than Ponga. He could be on 1.6 potentially, something like that. Something ridiculous. And I'm so glad it didn't work out that way, because if he got paid that ridiculous money, not saying he doesn't deserve it, maybe not that much I'd say at this point, but he could definitely demand those type of funds. It's good. It allows the Broncos to do a little bit more. So happy to have him at Brisbane for a long time. I just can't wait for it to be official, until it's actually done. Yeah, you never know with this sort of stuff going around. We've seen the amount of backflips that have happened in the past on these deals that are pretty much completely done. And then, so we'll see how that goes. Now, it's Nathan Cleary. Is he heading to this Super League? If he wanted, he could be sipping rosé and smoking cigars in the south of France on something about $2 million a year. Rumours came out the other day he was potentially looking at a move to the Super League so he could be closest to his Mrs. Mary Fowler. It would actually turn the rugby league world on its head if our best player just decided to pack up ship in the middle of his prime to head overseas and play over there. He would absolutely kill it if he did. Like I said, he could play in France if he wanted, play for the Catalans. He could be in England, wherever he wanted, but he would absolutely destroy them. He'd go over there, win a few comps, couple of man of steals, and he could pull an Alfie Langer, and when New South Wales needs him most, flying back in and bang, return to the NRL. Will it actually happen? I highly doubt it. There's no way Penrith and the NRL are going to be letting Nathan Cleary go. Maybe for a season, but I just don't see the point of it. I think he's got stuff that he can achieve here still. I don't think there would be much point going over there besides his love interest at this point. That's what the off-season's for. But, yeah, it'd be weird. It'd be an odd one if it happened. I don't think there's any truth to it at all, but it'd be pretty funny if it did, but don't see it happening. And Kalyn Ponga, he's been held hostage by the NRL. He wants to sit out the international games this year and withdrew himself from selection, which I think is so fair. But now they're looking at potentially banning him for a few games because he hasn't stepped forward to play. I think that's honestly ridiculous. He has had a massive season already. He's had a couple of injuries. He's played State of Origin. He's taken that team through to the finals, not to mention his previous season's injuries, whatever else he might be dealing with. Let the man have some time off. In any other job, you can't force somebody to essentially be doing overtime. They've already done their work. They shouldn't be made and then punished if they're not willing to put their hand up. I think there's plenty of other players that would be keen to jump into that spot. You've got guys like Edwards. Yeah, he might potentially be injured, but, given the season he's had, he's been the Blues fullback that won a series, potentially could go on to win 4 comps in a row. There's your fullback sorted. Teddy is having an absolute resurgence. I'm sure he would easily slot on that jersey and be captain of that squad. So, it's not the end of the world not having Ponga there. I think that's pretty ridiculous. And if he is going to get punished for it, how keen is he to play for Australia? He could just say, no, fuck yous, I'm going to go play for the Kiwis and not have to deal with any of this shit. So, yeah, could be an option for him, I guess. From what he's pretty much said and what has come out of the media, it seems that he's looking to just focus on the off-season while pre-season as well with the Knights, really focus on them. But I'm sure he just wants a bit of downtime as well, heal up, rest, enjoy himself. You know, he doesn't have anything to prove. Everyone knows how good he is. I don't think he needs to go out and play these games. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be massive blow-ups from players if we do see some sort of punishment put in place. Apparently, I don't know what if it was selectors or whoever it was, you know, carrying on that, oh, he should never be selected again and all this. And it's just like, shut up. That's so stupid. But look, that's just my take on it. But yeah, look, I think he can do whatever the hell he wants. If he doesn't want to play, he doesn't want to play. Like I said, there's plenty of other options. I have no issue with him doing that. I think it's complete. Like when I read the article, he said it out, I was like, oh yeah, sure, cool. Move on. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah, hopefully we don't see too much out of it. Now moving on to the games, I feel like there's going to be an upset this week. I don't know who, but I feel like out of your Storm and your Penrith, somebody's not making it through. Now, in saying that, I do think it is going to be a Storm-Penrith grand final, and I think Penrith are going to be going all the way through. Now that the Doggies are out, the team that I did jump on, if you can't beat them, join them. So Penrith Panthers are going to be my team through to the finals. Now, when I first ever started watching NRL, I believe the first ever game I watched was the 2003 grand final between Penrith Panthers and the Sydney Roosters. Penrith, they won that game, and the next day my old man went out to get me a Penrith footy. I think that lasted about a week or so before the Broncos came through big time. He said, yeah, enough of that shit, and Broncos have been my team ever since. So, you know, but what I'm trying to say, there might be a little source that I can jump on Penrith there, but after they did naughty things to us last year, you know, it's hard to deny them as being the best team potentially ever. You know, 3 comps in a row, potentially 4th, 5th grand final in a row if they win this weekend is just going to be insane. So yeah, that's what I think we'll see, but I'd love to see a rematch of that grand final with the Roosters versus Penrith. That would be amazing. But up first, we've got Storm versus Roosters. Now, while I don't want to see Storm win the comp, a lot of people hate Penrith these days because they've won so much and they're kind of always that winning team. Back when I was younger, they've continued that, but in particular, Melbourne Storm were just untouchable for many, many years. You know, that 06 grand final, of course, Broncos went ahead and beat them. So I've got a bit of a chip on my shoulder for Storm during that period and kind of carried that through. But either way, I'm going to be back in Storm 1-12 over the Chooks. The Roosters, they've only beat the Storm, I think, about once since 2020 and have a terrible record against them. Not to mention they're going to be playing in Melbourne. They're going to be rested as well. It's going to be a real tough task for that Roosters team. While they have been playing very well in these finals, they did get punished by Penrith, and I think you're seeing now the difference between these top teams. You know, you got that top 4, which have all gone through to these last couple games. They have been a leap above, you know, your bottom 4, but I think those top 2 are another step above yet again. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Roosters, they got a lot to play for. They got a lot of players that are going to be leaving, about 5 of them. So they're going to be putting absolutely everything into these games. I think the Roosters, their main advantage in this one is going to be in the middle. I think they've got the advantage there, and I think they need to show up like they did last week and absolutely bash Storm through the middle. I think Storm's halves are way too much for them. I think their backline, they're probably comparable, but I think in the middle, that's where the Roosters really are going to be able to demolish them. So yeah, they're going to have to turn up big time, and that's where you got your super experienced war veterans like Jared Warrior-Hargraves leading that charge. If they can start off like they did last week and really get on the front foot against the Storm, they're in for a chance, but I think there's a world as well where the Storm just demolishes them. Now, jumping into my anytime try scorer for this game, I'm going to go with Willie Warbrick to up to cross anytime. I think he is just a try scoring machine. He loves to get over, so happy days for Will Warbrick. Next game, we got Penrith versus Sharks. I'm going to back my adopted team. I'm going to go with Panthers 13 plus to put the Sharks away. The Sharks have showed no sign whatsoever of beating the Panthers in many, many years. I think I saw some stat from the random stats guy saying that Penrith have kept Sharks to 0 since 2022. So that gives you any idea of how much the Sharks have struggled against Panthers over the years. Yeah, it's going to be pretty rough. I just think the Penrith Panthers are going to be way too good. They've been in these finals too many times, are way too experienced. Nathan is rested. They're rested after a week off. Sharks, I think, were lucky to get as far as they did. I reckon, you know, they just had that combination of Cows probably not playing that great. Tricky Trindle absolutely catching fire. I think the whole team is going to need to do that. They're all going to have to turn up something chronic if they are going to have any chance against Panthers. I think Penrith are just going to be able to shut the Sharks down. Sharks, I think a big strength of theirs is through the middle. They've been able to just ram through teams, and that's not going to happen against Penrith. Not when you got the Bash brothers out there. They are going to flatline the forwards and the middle for the Sharks. So, yeah, it's going to be tough out there. Trindle, like I said, he's going to have to catch fire again, and even then, it's going to be rough. I think the edges for the Sharks, they could be key. They love to carry the ball forward, but yeah, you got guys on Penrith doing the exact same thing. There could be opportunities out there. You know, you got guys like Ronaldo that can jump over people, but yeah, it's going to be tough. Everyone's tried it against Penrith and nothing's really worked. So yeah, that's going to be rough. And then you've got Nathan Cleary running around as well if all goes to shit. So you can see what he's capable of given the grand final last year. Everything went bad and the Chid just said, boys, don't worry about it. Jump on my back. We're going all the way. And in saying that, I'm going to go with Brian To'o to score at least 4 points in this one. I can see him getting a double. So we'll see. Tip of the week, I'm going to go for the big 1-2 in this one. 2 games, 2 anytime try scorers. Up first, I'm going to back Harry Grant to get over in his 100th game to snag himself a meat pie. He loves to go for a little burrow close to the line, so I'm going to back him to get over. And then in the Penrith game, I'm going to snag a bash bro in Moses Leota. I love to try to get on him. He doesn't get over much, but when he does, it's in spectacular fashion. He is the fastest forward in the league by a mile, and I can just see him running over some poor bloke and scoring a massive meat pie. Slap those two together, you're going to get a juicy 2160. So yeah, I think that's a nice little 1-2. That's a nice little something there. So yeah, those are my tips and predictions for week 3 of the finals. Like I said, like, subscribe, give the socials a follow. Let me know who's going to be winning, and I'll catch you next week for the grand final.